right. Hello, one and all. Thanks for joining. It is day one of the celebration here in Minneapolis. I've got my book of notes, things to talk about, and I'm trying to kind of figure out exactly, I want to make sure that I wanted to make sure I could have just done a regular video, but I wanted to make sure that while I was doing it, if you guys had questions along the way, that all of you would, be able to. Aaron, you're here. I don't even know why you're online. Aaron can add little tidbits and whatnot. She can, that's what it is. So a lot of fun. I got here yesterday. They serve Pepsi up here we do Coke in Atlanta, Coca-Cola in Atlanta, but here in Minneapolis they do Pepsi. So that's all the northern places. Everything north of the Mason-Dixon line. But so anyways, got here yesterday, went to two separate events. One was Eric's Paisley Five and Dime show at Gluck's, which was a lot of fun. A lot of people showed up. A lot of people. The place was packed. A lot of star power showed up as well. They had Dr. Fink showed up. Paul Peterson was there, as well as Tracy Blake's band. Also, Bobby Z was there. Vicky was there. So there was quite a lot of people that were there at Gluck's. It was packed. It was so much fun. Jeremy, hello. Aaron, hello. Mary, hello. Tina, hello. Rhonda, hello. And there was quite a bit of people there. It was actually a bunch. And the place was packed. And, of course, Tracy Blake's band played as well. At the same time, literally a block and a half away, catty corner from where we were, was Alfonso Starr's Star Party 2 that was going on at a place called The Poorhouse. And The Poorhouse, you saw, well, I mean, I was trying to kind of do my best to kind of go back and forth, but Alfonso was tearing it up. It was very, very crazy. A lot of dancing, a lot of partying there for sure. A lot of partying there. A lot of good times. And matter of fact, there's Funkatopia Live is actually there. I'm actually recording this, not just for on Facebook Live, but we'll put this post also onto Funkatopia so the people outside of Facebook can see this when the government eventually shuts down Funkatopia. I mean, not Funkatopia. Shuts down. Hey Nadine, shuts down Facebook for being insane and not concerned about privacy and whatnot. So I'm looking over my notes here, just trying to kind of get a little bit of things. Obviously, the day started. I'm on track one, so we kind of had the first option of the day, which was simply we get done. Track 2 is happening right now as I'm sitting here, and I don't think they're done until like 10 o'clock, I think. They're doing a lot of photos and stuff from the previous celebration on their huge 25-foot screen, along with the announcement of the brand new Prince album that is going to be released on June 7th, in case you didn't see the notification. There is a new album that is coming on June 7th called Originals. And essentially what it is an album that is a compilation of songs that Prince wrote for other people, and it's him performing them. So Sex Shooter, I'm using these air quotes, Jungle Love, Manic Monday, Noon Rendezvous, Makeup, 100 Miles Per Hour, You're My Love, Holly Rock, Baby You're a Trip, Glamorous Life, Gigolos Get Lonely Too, Love Thy Will Be Done, Dear Michelangelo, Wouldn't You Love to Love Me, Nothing Compares to You. The reason why I used air quotes around Jungle Love is because, obviously, a lot of people just say, oh, Prince wrote Jungle Love and Prince wrote The Bird. And for people that know, technically that's not true. It's Jesse Johnson pretty much wrote Jungle Love in its entirety, with the exception of the lyrics. But was not credited as such. He also wrote The Bird, and on top of that, And on top of that, which I did not know until today for whatever reason, obviously because he's uncredited, but the Kid Can't Make You Come. So there's three songs on that Ice Cream Castle album that were written by Jesse Johnson, and so that's kind of anyways. Yes, Angela. Angela was next to you today. I know. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Regina, hello. Steve, hey, what's going on, brother? Catherine, hello. Tina. Thank you, Steve. I love your show too. And when you get one, let me know, and I'll watch it, and I'll tell you I love you. Love it, just so you know. So the day started out with a concert screening of the concert from the First Avenue show of The Time. So that is what kicked off the entire event, was a concert footage for about 45 minutes of The Time doing the show at First Avenue. The one that The Bird was recorded live from that concert. And the show, but they didn't play the concert in its entirety. It was 777 9311, Girl, Jungle Love, Wild and Loose, Gigolo's Getting Lonely Too, Cool, and The Bird. And some other things about that. Rocky Harris was on keyboards. Obviously, Paul Peterson was on keyboard too. And Rocky Harris was only on there, was only in the Time for like a matter of 2 or 3 weeks. He was in that video, but then after that he was gone, and he was replaced by Jeremy Hubbard. But they this iteration of The Time that they played the show was pretty intense. It was interesting. And was some of the neat things about this concert was that, first off, when the show first started, they broke into 777 9311 to start opening the show. It shows Morris goes up to the mic and starts singing, and nothing's coming out, and then you see him reach around and turn the mic on, and then obviously the vocals come out, and it was really funny. And he obviously smiles too, realizing, hey, because it comes out and he's walking around with all the swagger and everything, and he's kind of building up his character and doing all this strutting around and just kind of building up this persona, and then he goes over to the mic and starts singing, and he hadn't turned the mic on. So I thought it was kind of funny. A lot of feedback issues for the first song or two, especially during 7779311, but all that stuff kind of got a little bit got rehashed. But that was a very, very important concert, because that was the one that Fargnoli had to watch in order to kind of get an idea of exactly how he wanted to kind of portray and put The Time out on the screen. So that's kind of a little bit different in that regard. After the concert, after the date of the concert, the groups, they have a group on track one. They have Group A and Group B. Group B, which is the one I was on, was dispersed to go eat lunch. Group A stayed put for a panel with Jesse Johnson. So I skipped lunch and sat in the panel with Jesse Johnson. And then Group B came back from lunch, and then they got the panel from Jesse Johnson. So I just watched the panel 2 times in a row, because I kind of realized that there was probably going to be no similarity. There was probably going to be, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. There was going to be vast difference in what he said in the first and second, and technically there really wasn't, but there were some things that he brought up that did not make it into the second one, which I thought was kind of interesting. Now, in all fairness, before I kind of go through with, hey, Catherine, how you doing? Hey, Mickey, glad you could join us. Melissa, hello, Be Wild. In all fairness, Jesse did mention a couple times that, he felt a little bit more comfortable because it was a closed-off environment inside that building. So there are some things that, but he really didn't say anything that he hasn't said out in the open. But it was really, really clear that he did have a lot of animosity and frustration with Prince, a lot of anger towards Prince, due to some business dealings and things. I mean, one of the things that he there was a big falling out between him and Prince when Jesse Johnson left the time and just kind of stepped out to kind of do his own thing, and Prince really took that to heart. He was very, very upset about that whole process, and so in a way that only certain people can do, Prince kind of went and started essentially blackballing Jesse from all kinds of things. So there were so he talked a lot about that he would go and he would go and try to get work with like the big publicist Howard Bloom, and Howard like, oh great, yeah, I would love to work with you, and then the very next day he would call him and go, I can't work with you because Prince said if I work with you then he'll never work with me again, and I just can't do it. And then he found out that every single time that he tried to get ahead and try to move forward, that Prince would find out who those people were and would shut that door on him. And so that's kind of a lot of where that animosity came from. And so a lot of people, especially a lot of the people that were concerned about back in February, there was some girl who had tape recorded a conversation that Jesse Johnson was having on the phone, really kind of, just, he was having a one-on-one conversation with a friend, and so he was being a little bit more, a little bit more candor. Basically said, I don't love Prince like you guys love Prince. He stole money out of, the food out of the mouths of my kids and blah, 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 blah. And when you kind of look at things, that has pretty much been the Prince's thing. I mean, a lot of people say that, a lot of people were involved in the writing process of a lot of music that didn't get credit for his music or the parts that they wrote. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, Angela, it tore me up too. Anna, hello. Mei Ling, how are you, dear? Little Red Corvette in the house. Charlotte, hello. Anna, hello. So there were, so Prince made a habit of that. So there was a lot of that. I mean, so when you really kind of think, here's the thing, when you really kind of think of the fact that Ice Cream Castle is one of the biggest funk selling albums that there is, especially from the 80s and in regards to that. And the dispersion of money would have been vastly different had it been for Jesse being appropriately credited for Jungle Love and The Bird and the Kid, appropriately credited for half of the album. So I think, and that wasn't the only time that happened. There were so many things that Jesse had his hands in that never came to fruition as far as Prince giving him the appropriate credit, and Jesse's not the only one that Prince has done that to. Now I know we all hold Prince in really high regard, but this is a practice that has happened quite a bit. But just so you know, I know some of you are really visual. Jesse came out dressed in gray pants with white stripes. He had on this white knit hat. It was kind of a larger hat with a rim, kind of tilted to the side, a black leather coat, gray scarf, and black shoes. For those of you who have to have the whole picture. So he was kind of on stage with one of the girls that does work on The Current, and she was kind of interviewing him. And actually, she didn't even really have to do anything. She would welcome him on the stage, and then at that point, he just talked away for the entire time, and she didn't even get any questions in. The first issue, or the first wave of this, she only got to ask the one question at the very beginning, and then he spoke all the way through the whole entire time. And then at the end, she asked, what we could expect to see when they did the concert, when he performed the concert, and he kind of went off a little bit on that. So she really didn't even get to do anything. So there was that. But some of the things that he was talking about were some points that I found interesting was that this was actually, according to Jesse, this is the first time that he has been to Paisley Park since the recording of Graffiti Bridge. So he was there back in, what was that, 89? I think it was 89 or 90. So he was back there at the recording to to play in the movie. And of course, Prince had asked him, are you going to be okay? Would you be willing to do the movie? And Jesse was like, yeah, I'll do it. And he was like, well, Jimmy Jam is not doing, some people are not doing it. He's like, I'll do it as long as I get paid. So that's kind of why he was there. Carletta, hello, honey, hello. So, yeah, so anyways, so there's a lot of animosity, and a lot of it has to do with a proper credit. And of course, that what comes with that is the money side of things. So I think that is that's the reality of it. Of course, he told a lot of the stories that we had already heard. He didn't tell the Shockadelica story. You can find that still on YouTube. He told the story about when he first met Prince, and Prince had come over to his house, and he was talking about how he was hanging out with all these big, 6'2" guys, and really, big dudes, and really street punk kind of guys. And then the second that Prince walked into the room, everybody's demeanor changed. They just kind of went to, oh, hey, how you doing, Prince? So he really kind of just altered the demeanor of everybody that was in the room. So no matter what they were doing, it was just, no matter how tough they were, when Prince walked in, everybody just kind of went into a subservient position. And he told the story about how Prince was sitting in front of him, and that, he said, yeah, I saw your show with the Controversy show, or the Dirty Mind show. It was really, really great. Really enjoyed it. Man, you really like Hendrix. And Prince said, no, I don't listen to that stuff. And of course, Jesse was like, get them out of here. And so, anyways, and then Prince thought that was hilarious, and he then was just laughing and holding his gut, and he literally fell to the floor and was laughing so hard, and Jesse really didn't really kind of understand what the joke was. And he had also mentioned that while Prince when Prince fell on the floor, that a wad of cash came out of his pocket that was like a wad of hundreds that just fell out, and Prince didn't even notice. And I guess one of his bodyguards said, "Hey, Prince, you dropped this." And of course, they're living, paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure out where their next meal is going to come from. And of course, it was just a weird vibe. Anyways, so he was also told a little about some of the stories about the 1999 tour, and all the things that they were doing and they were playing. And he was talking about, Prince had walked over to him and shown him his bank account passport book, and it was just like had an absurd amount of money in it. And he's just, I think this is all of it. He said it wasn't really one of those scenarios where he really kind of felt like he was attached. But on the same note, I think it eventually did start to eat at him. And apparently he said the rift began between him and Prince when Prince sent him a care package. And the care package is basically like with plane tickets, a cassette with the music that he had to learn on it, and with lots of handwritten notes. And of course, that just kind of just come. Here's some money. Here's the tickets. Here's the cassette, and just show up. And apparently, Prince never shared with Jesse that he kind of admired him or respected him as a musician, and that really started eating at Jesse, because apparently Jesse had read a music interview where Prince had said, the only musician that I really fear is Jesse Johnson. And he said it in an interview, and Jesse read it and said, I don't understand why he doesn't ever say that to me. So it was a little bit of animosity there in that regard. But again, the rift really kind of started when Jesse left for the time, not because of anything out of any anger or anything like that. It was more of the fact that every single time he tried to get something started on his own, that Prince had kind of gone ahead of him and kind of cut off all of those resources and just said, if you work with Jesse, you will no longer be able to work with me. And of course, at the time, that was Prince at his mightiest, almost his mightiest, not quite as mightiest yet. He hadn't done Purple Rain at that. Well, yeah, I guess he had at that point. Yeah, Purple Rain had just come out. So there was still, he was at the height of his of his fame, and so everybody was kind of like, we take a chance, that this is all going to work out. So I'll stop. Anyways, Julie, hello. Julie, I don't know why Julie's online. Julie, why are you even here? Aren't you supposed to be at the she's on track too. Why are you even on here? Anyways, or maybe she managed to keep her phone. Congratulations, dear. That's fantastic. Anyways, so there was a lot of things that Jesse was doing, but again, I can't go into like every single little thing that he said, because again, these are all things that are pretty much common knowledge, some with some little bit more of added details, but he did also mention that the reason why he did the panel was more of a healing for him. He said that in 2008, he said that Prince had reached out to him. Well, a girl called and said that Prince had asked her to call and said, would like to meet, really just kind of wanted to just kind of make things better and kind of, fix things. And I think he was working with D'Angelo at the time, and he just ignored it. He just didn't want to, he didn't want to get involved with it. He was just like, I'm just kind of done with it. So he did say that the panel was more of a healing for him. I mean, his exact words was that he really felt like, and he said this after the concert, that this was really, really a therapy for him. Going there was really a therapy to kind of, help him close this chapter, because obviously without Prince to actually talk about it directly, he's just got to be okay with it himself at this point, and just kind of making amends. So I think that's kind of where things are. And of course, the other thing that he wanted to make sure of was that one of the reasons why he's not a big fan of media, and he was not really comfortable doing the panels unless it was going to be closed, is because he also felt like a lot of things were taken out of context. So he wanted to make sure that that whole process was, So I'm trying to be really, really careful, because he did specifically say that he wants things not to be taken out of context, and that's really, really important to him in that regard. So there were two panels. Again, I did them back to back. I skipped lunch to do the first panel, and I stuck for the second panel, and I got up like a bunch of little tidbits of information. So there was that. Then there was another panel after that, which was the Funk Soldiers panel, which consisted of Ida Nielsen from Third Eye Girl, Kat Dyson, obviously she's been in various iterations, Xavier Taplin, Michael Herring, and Kip Blackshear. So all of them were there for the Funk Soldiers panel, and that was there were some interesting points around there. Xavier came in around 2013, and Andrew Gachet had talked to Prince about Xavier's playing, because Prince was looking for a specific keyboardist that could really take it to church, I guess is how he mentioned it. And so they started working together really, really heavily. And, he had said that Prince kept calling him from an unknown phone number, and eventually he just picked it up, and it was Prince. And, of course, he thought he was being kind of, he was being punked or whatever. Is that even a term anymore? But anyways, so he came out, and Prince got him to come out, and it was basically Prince on bass and John Blackwell on drums, and then they put Xavier on keys and basically said, go, let's see what you got. And of course they kept switching it up and doing some things, and so it was interesting, because it was quite an undertaking for him. But he said that when they got there, they played 777-9311 for 20 minutes. Is what they said. They just got it was just long version of 777-9311. And then he also played. He played on Hit and Run Phase 2, and he was also part of a jazz fusion album called NPGQ. Now, there's supposedly talk. That's one of those things that's sitting in the vault. It's there in the vault. I don't know when it's ever going to come out. I think I've seen some little pieces that have kind of floated out, but that's definitely one that a lot of people are going to be interested in seeing. Is obviously is the NPGQ project that Prince had done. It was kind of like a Madhouse project, but a little bit more jazz fusiony. I can't obviously think of a good adjective for that, but that is what it is. Then of course there was Michael Herring, who played with the Funky Bald Heads, and he was asked to open for Funky Bald Heads were asked to open for Prince in 2001, and they actually showed a couple clips of them opening up, and Prince had actually come out during one of the songs and was jamming with them on keys and coming out and doing vocals and everything. So it was kind of a whirlwind type of thing. But and then of course they were talking to Kat a little bit. Kat was talking about her guitar work and the parts that she had recorded for various songs like The Love We Make and things like that. And she used to be Sheila E's guitarist, and so it's kind of been back and forth with them. And then of course Kip was talking about, he came on about 1999. He was talking about all the things that he was involved with, like Call My Name, and at one point, I guess Kip's band was playing at Bunkers and in Minneapolis, and Prince and Larry Graham came to the show. And Kip was like, "Oh, okay, this is happening." And Prince came on stage and did a jam session with them with Nothing Compares to You. And then he got on the mic and proceeded to tell the audience, hate to say this, but show's over. Kip's got some work that he's got to do up at the studio at Paisley Park. So thank you guys for coming out. And then they got on they took Kip in a limo over to Paisley Park, and then they did a bunch of work. Kip's story is obviously very interesting. Ida had some interesting stories to tell. Nothing that's way beyond what my interview with her was last month. You can obviously go back on Funkatopia and you can actually view some of that footage, because all the stuff that she was talking about was pretty much the same thing that she was discovered. Prince discovered her on her MySpace page, to kind of give you a little bit of a history on that. But when she first came on, it was Prince on guitar and John Blackwell on drums. So obviously that was the John Blackwell and Prince in some form or fashion was typically the I guess the people that would test exactly how everything would work. That 777-9311 jam would be pretty amazing for sure. And she also mentioned something that I thought was interesting. Now, we had talked to Ida, and I talked to Ida and Adana about this, that they didn't know what Third Eye Girl was. They did not know the name of that was going to be the name of the band. That was things that I talked to them about on the interview. What's interesting that I found out today from Ida was that they also didn't know that they were recording an album. They thought that they were just kind of doing some jam sessions and doing some things that were kind of moving the needle, and they had no idea that that the album was, that this was, because they were recording in a studio where Ida said the drums weren't even set up, they weren't even soundproofed. They didn't have the pillows and everything in the drum heads. I mean, it's just nothing in the kick drum. They didn't. Everything was just kind of in disarray in the studio. So they just kind of thought they were just recording songs just to dedicate to another project, just to kind of lock down and commit the songs to recording, so in case they needed to use them later. And then they realized not only was Third Eye Girl the name of the band, but also all that stuff that they had been recording was also going to be an album. So this was all which essentially became Plectrum or Electrum. So they didn't. So there was like a lot of interesting things that were going on that Prince was just kind of moving in the background and just didn't really share a whole bunch in that regard. So it was kind of interesting how she brought that up. And there wasn't really a whole bunch of other things. A couple more points about the Funk Soldiers panel um, came from Xavier. The first thing is he told a little tidbit about Prince, that he had fired a catering company. Everybody wanted to hear a little tidbit, and this was kind of a little neat tidbit, that he had fired a catering company because when they put his food on the plate, they made it look like a face. So they used like food for the eyes and food for the mouth, blah blah blah. And apparently, Prince hates that. He hates that. Uh, no idea what the thing was. Apparently, somebody else knew. I don't remember who it was, who they said was in the band at the time, that didn't know it, but that knew that he hated that. And when they saw that that's how the plates were set up, he said, somebody's getting fired. And of course, it did happen. He let the catering company go because he does not, he just, he does not like that. So it's just, it's kind of one of those weird things. And of course, the other thing that Xavier said was that the hardest thing working with Prince, obviously, is juggling your personal life along with juggling working with Prince, because Prince was always on. You never knew whether or not he was going to call you at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, I need you on a plane tomorrow to come out here and do this, that, or the other. And if you already had shows in the books, you were done. You didn't. There was no. That was it. You had to kind of cancel. You had to do whatever you had to do and be out. And so it's just kind of one of these weird things that kind of happens. And that's Prince was single. I mean, he was married at some points and whatever, but his whole world and life revolved around music, and he expected everybody around him to kind of be the same, and that wasn't always the case. Most of the people had lives, and so that was kind of like a big thing. And I think that's kind of where the Funk Soldiers panel kind of ended, is just kind of everybody was just saying, he was just a man on a mission. He had very, very specific things that he wanted to do, very specific things that he kind of felt it. He lived and breathed it. He was everywhere all at one time. He had somebody in the recording studio. He'd have somebody in one area that'd be recording a song, and he'd be in another one doing a jam with another band. And then he'd be doing an interview in another room. So he'd have like all these things, and he would be like omnipresent at all these things. And he was just this machine. And that was really difficult, because it's very, very hard to kind of keep up with all those things. Dave, thanks for joining us. Keely, thanks for joining us. Mickey asks, did he bring these people in and pay them at that time, or would he tell them later and pay them? No, he definitely obviously took care of their expenses. He got them the tickets to get there. I'm sure there was expenses that were taken care of. I mean, I had always heard that he did, take care of expenses, but I think a lot of these people are artists for hire. I was reading the book, Kim Berry's book, Diamonds and Curls, came out, and he took care of those people that worked with him. She told a story about, I can't remember who the drummer's name was. It was some girl that was playing drums, not Hannah, and they went to go see her at some club, and he met with her, and then after the show, and he asked her what her dream drum set would be, and she rambled off whatever it was, and then Prince turned to his assistant and said, make it happen, and bought her a drum set. So he took care of his people, and I think that most of the expenses and stuff were covered, and that was pretty normal in that regard. And then, of course, we had a little bit of a break, and then it was Jesse Johnson's concert. This is when everybody kind of comes all into the room, and he does a concert. A little bit of an audio issue in the beginning with the pickup and the guitar. Every single time you turn the guitar on, it was like this really loud buzz. Kind of sounded like it was an intentional feedback sound, but it was not. And they got it resolved, and Jesse Johnson came out, and they played. This time around, he had switched out. For those visual folks, he had a burgundy hat on, kind of same thing, where it was kind of almost looked kind of velvety, but it was tilted to the side. Burgundy hat, and he also had this burgundy trench coat and this with a black button-down shirt underneath it with the big, heavily emphasized collars and whatnot. They opened up. So you guys want to know the set list? It was an amazing concert. I'll tell you that. It was supposed to only last for 45 minutes. I think it was supposed to go from 3 to 3:45, and it ended up going beyond that until I want to say it was after 4. So he went about 20 minutes over. Hold on. I got to get a refresher here. And he didn't announce any of the band. So I don't think, I didn't recognize anybody that was playing in the band. If anybody here knows who they were, I'm pretty good at knowing a lot of the members and going, oh, that's so-and-so. Yeah, but these were definitely session players that were playing with him, and he did not do them any favors as far as announcing who they were. But I mean, it's okay because they're the session musicians, but they were really good session musicians. He had 2 keyboardists, a male keyboardist and a female keyboardist, both of which took on vocal duty as well. He had a drummer and he had a bass player, so that was it was a 5-piece setup with 2 keyboards. He was only on guitar. Mickey says it's hard to have a relationship. Yes, obviously. I mean, most people, if you're married to a musician, you've got to, and they start working with Prince, you're going to be pretty obvious. Yes, Angela, it was a great concert. And so here is the set list. They started out with an instrumental of "Love Struck," and I was actually surprised he did that because I heard them doing the instrumental of it, and I was like, this would be really cool. They actually broke into the song because it was pretty much a good few minutes of an instrumental version of "Love Struck" before they broke into the actual song, and they played "Love Struck," and then they played a what's the word? A little medley of sorts that was not really a medley. It was 3 songs that were mashed together, but they were just joined. So it wasn't really like just a piece and just a piece and just a piece. It was like pretty much 3 full songs. They did Be Your Man, and then he broke into Controversy, and then he broke into Jungle Love. And the reason why he chose those 3 songs was because Controversy was the first tour that he was really involved in. Be Your Man was his first hit, and then Jungle Love was his first national hit, although he wasn't credited for that one. So he kind of put those songs together intentionally. One of the things he did mention too in his panel, I wanted to kind of break away from the set list just for a second, was that he was saying that Morris Day was on the Dirty Mind tour with Prince, and Morris's sole responsibility was recording every single one of the shows, like videotaping every single one of the shows. I didn't know that. So if you've seen any type of video from the Dirty Mind tour, that's Morris's videography work. All right, so let's start back over the set list. Sorry about that. We got continuity things here. Love Struck, Be Your Man, Controversy, and Jungle Love in a medley of sorts. And then he broke into I Want Your Girl. I Want My Girl, sorry. I Want Your Girl. I Want My Girl. Then he played I Feel For You, and he thought that he did mention in the show that he thought that was Chaka Khan's song. He didn't know that it was Prince's song before Chaka Khan redid it. And so he always used to tease Prince about that every single time that Prince would play it. And he goes, I love it when you play that girl's song. And then like, shut up. So it was kind of funny. So they played I Feel For You. Pretty much like the standard way that you hear Chaka Khan's version. But then they rocked it out and was like ended up being a 6+ minute version of I Feel For You, half normal and half rocked out. And then he played the first verse of a song called Brand New Day. That's off of his Bare My Naked Soul album. And then My Life, also off of that album. Then he went back and did Can You Help Me? And then he did Addiction. He played a little teeny snippet, if you caught it, he played a little teeny snippet of Purple Rain. And then he went into Black in America. And then he ended with a little instrumental that was kind of from Verbal Penetration, and that was it. So that was pretty much the extent of the day. At that point, we were kind of sent away. So to kind of give you an idea, if you haven't been to Celebration, this is the kind of things that they do, the kind of things that they kind of work out. And all in all, I mean, it was a good day. Some good tidbits of information. As I mentioned, how's the merchandise this year? Jeremy asked. Actually, I'm very, very surprised. They actually have got quite a bit of really good merchandise. They have tons of new T-shirts. They actually have Prince and Third Eye Girl T-shirts that are actually there. Lots of throwback T-shirts. Some of the stuff is kind of ridiculously priced. Like they have a tambaraka or whatever those things are called, and a tambourine. The $80 for a tambourine. That's kind of silly. But then they have lots of different types of keychains and small. They have a really good selection of a bunch of different price points, from scarves and umbrellas and everything else. I mean, it's all the stuff they had last year, but it seems like they kind of really went out of their way to kind of make more stuff. So I think they did a really, really good job in that regard. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's left over from last year, as some people are saying. So it is what it is. So most of the cool stuff though is going to be happening in and around Minneapolis. Like for instance, tonight there are 3 different events that are going on. Last night there was a couple that we had to choose from, and there's probably more, but. Tonight, there's 3 that are going on. Jelly Bean Johnson is actually doing a jam session that's going to be going on all night. And then there's also Rodney Fitzgerald's normal party, the 365 celebration party, is going to be happening as well. He's got Linka Paris, DJ Linka Paris, going to be there. And if that's not enough, Shelby J is actually going to be at the Capri Theater, and that is happening tonight as well. I was going to go to that. Tickets were a little bit out of my ballpark because where I spent quite a bit of money trying to get here, and I didn't even know about that show until last night, and I know that a lot of people are going. And there's some other things that are going on too. If you go to the Facebook page, the Funkatopia Facebook page, there is a list of the things that are going on in and around Minneapolis, which is actually pretty cool. I wanted to kind of go in there and fill in the blanks for the other events that are going on in the celebration as far as the panels, but I already taken pictures of the schedule, so you got those, so you can actually see what's happening. I think this day was probably the most interesting to me. Primarily because of the fact that it was interesting to see exactly how Jesse Johnson was going to play out, what was going to be happening, was he going to be playing. I knew that the concert would be all of Jesse's material. I knew that it would not be all Prince. I knew that for a fact. I knew that was not going to happen. But also trying to figure out how he was going to address, or if he was even going to address at all, some of the issues with all the animosity and the rift that had happened between him and Prince, and how he was going to handle it, whether or not he was going to bring up the telephone conversation that was illegally recorded, whether he was going to do all those things. And I think he handled himself fine. I think he endeared himself to the Prince crowd. He knows he's in Prince's world. This is Paisley Park. Prince sometimes lives here. He records here. He records there all the time. This was Prince's. We could call it Prince's house, but anyways, he knew where he was, and I think he held that in reverence. But I think that people who were anti-Jesse, and I saw some anti-Jesse sentiments on Facebook and all over. I saw those things. I watched it. I saw it. And he does not do social media. I mean, he'll do Facebook and occasionally and stuff, but he does not. He was very, very clear about his disdain for social media, so he made that well aware. So you can say all the negative crap that you want to about Jesse. He doesn't really care. It's not really his thing. So is what it is. But I thought he handled himself very, very well. It was very, very well done. I think the concert was fantastic. He did a really good job. It it felt more like you were kind of in a rehearsal more than an actual concert. Kind of stop a song, and then he goes and he tunes his guitar, or he switches things out, and there's nothing happening, and nobody's talking, and there's no flow. It just kind of seemed like it was just one song after another, which was fine, because we're not really picky like that. We're okay. We're fine. I mean, it's not a big deal. We're there because everybody loves Jesse. I mean, when you're doing songs like Addiction and Love Struck and everybody's singing along, they're all fans. We're all fans of Jesse Johnson's stuff. We just knew that we didn't know what we were going to see today. We had no idea what we were going to see today, but I know everybody that was there were fans of Jesse. These are not just fans of Prince. When the people that paid this amount of money to come to Paisley Park and see Jesse Johnson, they know his stuff and they know him, and they are very, very familiar with all of the deep cuts, which is also going to be a really big fun thing for me too, with the Funk Soldiers scenario that's coming up on Saturday. Because the Funk Soldiers really dig deep into Prince's catalog whenever they perform, and so I'm really excited to see some of the stuff that they do. They really kind of dig deep, and I like that. I appreciate that, and I think that if you're playing to a general crowd, like general Prince fans that only pay $5 at the door to kind of get in and see a Prince cover band, they want to see the hits. But when you're in a scenario like this, these folks, like myself and everybody else that is there, we like the hits. We're a fan of the hits, but we want to see the deep stuff. Play the deep stuff. We want to hear the deep stuff. So I think they've done a really, really good job at how they pulled it off. But all in all, today was a good day. You guys have heard some of my grumblings about the celebration, as far as how they're kind of pushing things out. But today was a good day. There was good information. It was a good show. Jesse did a good job. It was a good concert. Everything was pretty fantastic. So we'll just leave it at that. I just think it was a really, really good day. I'm going to be doing this as often as I possibly can. Tomorrow is a short day. Tomorrow we go in. We're only going for like half the time that we normally do, because tomorrow night we'll be going to the Armory to see Prince live in concert on the big screen, which I believe is the same show that it was last year. So we will see. I'm going to, it was a Welcome to America tour, so I'm pretty sure it will be the same show. If it isn't, I'll let you know. But anyways, we're going to be, I'll make sure that I do everything. The only one that may be a little bit of a challenge for me to do this will be on Sunday, because Sunday is going to end at 4 o'clock, and I have to get on a flight by 7, I think is what it is. So, or not 7, like 8:30 or something like that. So I have a very, very, very limited time window that I can actually do it. So I may have to wait until Monday night to actually do, or Monday to do an actual full-blown thing. But did want to come and talk to you guys and say, hey, Peggy, thanks for joining us. Sorry you came in late. This video that I just did will be posted on Funkatopia. As soon as we're done here, I'm going to save it, push it up to Funkatopia. So it won't just be on Facebook Live, but it will also be, won't be on Facebook, but it will also just be on the actual Funkatopia page as well. Angela says she has tickets to Jelly Bean's jam session, but she is out. So if anybody wants to talk to Angela about getting her tickets, you can get her tickets. And let's see what else here. Was TC on the Graffiti Bridge? The Graffiti Bridge panel is on Saturday. It's not on. Wasn't today. Graffiti Bridge panel is on. You can see the schedule on the Facebook page for Funkatopia. You got it all there. Hey, Lisa. Hey, how are you? Mary says, it better not be the same show. I'm sorry, Mary. I'm willing to bet. If I had to put money on it, if I was a Vegas gambler, I would bet that it is the same show. Because I can't imagine that they went through this whole entire process of everything they did to put together that show that they put together last year, and they only played it that one time at the Target Center and didn't tour with it and didn't do anything else with it. Because if you remember that last year they did the show was the Welcome to America tour, and they had the whole entire thing that was happening. And then what happened was he asked everybody, if you want this to come to your town, email us at whatever that email was that he had given out, and tell us what state where you want it to go. And everybody did that, but the show never came to fruition. So my guess is that they're going to try to do this again. They're gonna rewind. They're gonna do the exact same show they did last year. This time, obviously, doing it at the Capri Theater, doing it at the Armory, which is a little bit of a historic place, as you've heard me mention before. It's where they recorded the 1999 video, the Little Red Corvette video, and the Automatic video. So that's a little bit of historic context in that regard. But I think that it is going to be the same show. They can still say that it's unreleased, never before released, because it hasn't been released. So the way that they worded it leads me to believe, if they had said never before seen, that may be one thing, but that's not what they said. They said never before released. So they were really careful with the way that they structured that. I'm willing to bet it's the same one, and that this could be the beginning of the show that they're willing to they're going to start taking on the road. I did actually see Shelby J yesterday. I hugged her neck, just said hello. I knew she was busy and had stuff to do, but I did say hello to her. And I may have to ask her if I see her again today. I may have to ask her, because obviously if they do take it on the road, she's going to be involved in that process along with all those other members that are going to be playing as well. Yes, Patty, I think it will be the same. Do you know if there are any still tickets for Jelly Bean? There should be. I'm not sure if it's sold out or not, but if you private message Angela Parkin Wheeler said that she has tickets and she's going to tap out. She may not go. We are going to be tonight. I am going to be going to Jelly Bean's show for the first few hours, and then I've got a jet. I've got to go to Rodney Fitzgerald, the 365 celebration. So I'll be at those two things. But I wanted to hang out with Dwayne Tudall. I saw Dwayne today. Dwayne and I were hanging out. It was me and Dwayne Tudall and Steve Park. We were all Parks. We were all hanging out at Paisley Park talking, and it was fun. Good time. Great. I mean, again, good show, and it is what it is. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll put this video up ASAP. That is the end of the recap of day one. I'll do this tomorrow. I'll do this for every single day except for the fourth one, because I think the fourth one's going to be a little bit too tight. If I have an opportunity to do it, I'll try. I'll certainly try. But I've been taking pretty copious notes to kind of give you an idea. I mean, it's just notes and notes and notes, and just lots of notes. And I just kind of can't really see those notes, but there's tons of notes that I'm writing down. So I'm making sure that it's all taken care of. And, so that's that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Appreciate it. And hopefully, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of make sure that I went this year, was to kind of bring you these recaps for all of you folks who could not make it. So thanks once again. We'll post this video ASAP. I'm out. And for those of you that are here, please make sure that you say hello. Definitely make sure you say hello. I'll be around. You'll see me tonight at Jelly Bean Johnson's show and also the 365 celebration. So I'll be at both. Just hang out. I'll be there. Talk to you soon. Make sure I'm not missing any comments before I go. All right, nobody. Thanks. Adios. End video today would be good.